Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yesterday we did our reading and did it in a short sleeve shirt, and now it's like autumn is upon us, as you can see in the clouds in the back.
And that's getting stuff out.
Yeah, and it's actually raining a little tiny bit, so we're going to go ahead and read.
We're sitting outside a pub.
Yeah, we didn't go in the pub.
It's called the Three Compasses.
And those of you who know, you know.
Yeah, if you live around the manor, you know the Three Compasses.
It's the pub right up from the manor. Okay, so we're reading
Canto 4, Chapter 8, text
59 to 60.
59 to 60.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 59 to 60. Anyone who thus engages in the devotional service of the Lord seriously and sincerely with his mind, words and body, and who is fixed in the activities of the prescribed devotional methods, is blessed by the Lord, according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, he is awarded these results.
Well, that's pretty intense.
Purport. Devotional service is so potent that one who renders devotional service can receive whatever he likes as a benediction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls are very much attached to the material world, and thus by performing religious rites they want the material benefits known as dharma and artha. So if you engage in the Lord's service, whatever you desire, you get. Kind of, yeah. You become fulfilled one way or the other.
I was just reading about the Gopal Gayatri mantra, and the acharyas explain. I can't remember if it was Vishwanath Chakravarti or Jiva Goswami, but they explain that this mantra, chanting this mantra, the Gopal Gayatri mantra, can bring all types of either material or spiritual benefits. And now reading this, actually the practice of bhakti can deliver one, either spiritual or material things. It says, of course, I appreciated this. We hear this very often, that there are two principal qualities that one has to have to perform devotional service, and that's one has to be serious and one has to be sincere. So we see both of those are mentioned here. And then it says, with your mind, your words, and your body, and you're fixing the activities of prescribed devotional methods, and then you get the desires of material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So you get the rewards of these three things. So this, I suppose, is being brought up here, and this is, I'm sure this is still Narada Muni, who is instructing Dhruva Maharaj, who obviously has a material aspiration or material desire. So this kind of complements the point that we should go to the Lord for whatever it is that we desire. Better is to go to the Lord, not to try to go somewhere else. Okay, text 61. If one is serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service, engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy, and he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say about that. And there are different stages of perfection according to different persons' objectives. Generally, people are karmis, for they engage in activities of sense gratification. Above the karmis are the jnanis, who are trying to become liberated from material entanglement. Yogis are still more advanced because they meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And above all these are the devotees who simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. They are situated seriously on the topmost platform of ecstasy. So, yeah, this is powerful because the verse says engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy. If you want to get out of the material world, that's where you need to be operating. 24 hours a day. Now, one might say you need to sleep, but also when you sleep, you can be engaged in devotional service, because a sleeping can be devotional service because you have to rest the body so that the body is in good enough shape to perform your devotional service. Or, like the Goswamis, you only sleep a couple of hours. Prabhupada also only slept a few hours, and just enough to keep body and soul together. But one thing I wanted to focus on was this term karmis, which of course in ISKCON, amongst the devotee community, we throw this term around often in a derogatory way about people who basically about just general public who are karmis, or even when I was in the ashram, like I would call my civilian clothes karmi clothes, my karmi clothes.
Oh, karmi name.
And my karmi name, yeah. And it's like, but I think it's really important to point out that this term karmi means a karmi yogi. That means someone who is performing material religious activities in order to get a positive karmic reaction, to get some good things, which means that they're actually on quite a high platform, a karmi. Because the next level up is a jnani, who is someone who is using knowledge in order to try to get free from the propensity for karmic activity. And then a yogi who's generally quite renounced from all of it and just meditates on the Lord in the heart. And then I found it interesting that Prabhupada didn't say bhaktas, because usually he would say that karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. But he just says the devotees. So like that. Anyway, that was a thought.
Next paragraph, same verse. Here Dhruv Maharaj is advised that if he has no desire for sense gratification, then he should directly engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The path of apavaga, or liberation, begins from the stage called moksha. In this verse, the word vimuktaye, for liberation, is especially mentioned. If one wants to be happy within this material world, he may aspire to go to the different material planetary systems where there is a higher standard of sense gratification. But real moksha, or liberation, is performed without any such desire. This is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by the term anyabhilashita shunyam, without desire for material sense gratification. For persons who are still inclined to enjoy material life in different stages or on different planets, the stage of liberation, bhakti yoga, is not recommended. Only persons who are completely free from the contamination of sense gratification can execute bhakti yoga, or the process of devotional service, very purely. The activities on the path of apavaga up to the stages of dharma, artha, and kama are meant for sense gratification. But when one comes to the stage of moksha, the impersonalist liberation, the practitioner wants to merge into the existence of the Supreme. But that is also sense gratification. When one goes above the stage of liberation, however, he at once becomes one of the associates of the Lord to render transcendental loving service. That is technically called vimukti. For this specific vimukti liberation, Narada Muni recommends that one directly engage himself in devotional service. So Narada Muni is recommending. Is Narada Muni recommending? Oh, he's not recommending this to Dhruva, is he?
Yeah. He's explaining the principles.
Yeah, but he's not saying to Dhruva, because he's given the mantra to Dhruva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But now it sounds like, look, if one is serious about liberation, you should do this. Or if one engages seriously, I guess the previous verse, it's like, because Dhruva, don't forget, he's standing there running, he's got material desires still, and this he hasn't realized the Lord and that. So he's got material desires, so the previous verse would resonate with him. But this verse, if you're serious about liberation, I would take that Narada Muni is, it's where he ends up, isn't it? He ends up realizing the Lord, and why do I want all this? I just want you. And then Krishna gives him what he originally wanted, but he isn't propagating that high level of what purpose is vimukti, liberation, or at least it's not going to resonate with him. I would say the previous verse would resonate, because it's more like, look, if you've got material desires, don't worry about it, still chant this mantra and worship Krishna, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, because he'll fulfill it, because that's the level he's on. Whereas this verse takes it to a...
Yeah, so Narada Muni isn't giving an incomplete picture.
Right.
He's explaining that you can perform devotional services I'm instructing you, and you can acquire any material desires that you want.
Right.
But if one is serious about liberation, vimukti, then you can also do the same thing, but you have to do it at a more intense level.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, Narada Muni is instructing him, but he won't give him, he won't just instruct him in karma yoga. He wants to give him the full breadth of the entirety, so that he can decide, and so that he feels that I did give it to him, whether he chose it or not, that's up to him.
Right.
So then, text 62. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious.
So he doesn't disagree.
What do you mean doesn't disagree?
Because I thought in this verse he'd be like, yeah.
No, he already said that, and Narada already accepted that he's not on that level, and he appreciated that he gave it to him. But so he's already given him what he'll accept, and it's like that. You mentioned, I think yesterday, it was in our talk on Sunday about Saturday, selective hearing. So someone will listen to a whole Bhagavatam class, say a whole 35-45-hour long class, and we'll only take away 2 snippets, and those were the things that resonated or related to us. So Dhruva's like, oh yeah, I like that part, that makes sense, I got that. And Narada knows that, but he also gave the whole thing, so that also went in. So it's sort of like, what is it, sometimes when we preach, we may give the simple thing, but then we add a little bit of Krishna. We might go into work and take some brownies or something. And everyone's like, oh, brownies, man. But we've offered them the Krishna, so they're getting the brownies, but they're also getting Krishna, kind of thing. Okay. But what I was going to say was that, it says that Madhuvan, of course, this pastime is happening before Krishna appeared on this planet. So, but the principle is that place has always been sacred and holy, because even, I guess, yuga after yuga, the Lord performs his pastimes there, so it's always considered sacred. 63. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it was wise to go to the king to see how he was faring with the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Text 64. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification? Purport. The 4 stages of advancement of human civilization are religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and for some, the stage of liberation. Narada Muni did not inquire from the king about his liberation. So it's interesting he didn't point that out. Because he's just been dealing with Dhruva, who's also Kshatriya, who wasn't interested in that. He just was interested in the others. But only regarding the state management, which is meant for advancement of the 3 principles, religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and sense gratification. Interesting. So I would say that on that point, that those 3, one is only interested in liberation once one has lost all interest in these things. So religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, sense gratification. So if your sense gratification, or if your economic development, or your religious ceremonies are aimed at pleasing Krishna or Krishna's devotees, that means you're not actually attached to them. You're not engaged in those things either. Otherwise, I really feel that this is one of those statements that could be, oh yeah, we just need to give everything up, and then only then am I actually a devotee of Krishna. When I don't do this, and I don't do that, and I don't do this, and I don't, and then it can become a whole psychosis actually. And but that's not our philosophy at all. And even though many of our great sadhus are sannyasis and saintly persons, but amongst the Mahajans, many of them are grihastas and extremely well off and well-to-do. Swami Manu, Lord Brahma, who else is there? Yamaraj. All these personalities are actually, one could look and say they're sense gratifiers, but we see some of the greatest kings. Ambarish Maharaj is a good example. I'm listening to the 9th canto at the moment. He's a great king. King Prataparudra and Lord Chaitanya's pastime. Shivananda Sain. Many of Lord Chaitanya's closest associates were well off, well-to-do. But they used their resources in the service of Krishna. They engaged in religious rites and activities for the pleasure of the Lord. Or was I just hearing? Anyway, also here in the 4th canto, Prithu Maharaj will come up soon, right? We haven't done Prithu Maharaj yet. So Prithu Maharaj, he was performing all kinds of yajnas, and and he is an incarnation, I think, Shakti Vaishya avatar of the Lord. So anyway, just a point. Should we conclude there?
Yeah, feeling a bit cold.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe yesterday it was like a lovely summer's afternoon.
It was the last couple of days.
But it is a bit cold now.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you all very much. Please read the Granth Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.